Well, well, well. Now you're probably going to X and you're seeing posts like the ones in front of you. Who the hell is selling? Like if you're not selling, and F this crypto, I can't stand the business. Will you understand that no one important is selling? Let me break it all down for you, ladies and gentlemen. In front of you is Ethereum on the left and Bitcoin on the right. Lots of green and pink and fancy stuff in front of you, but let me just simplify it. Green means buy, pink means sell. That's what it means. No, it doesn't, Tina. You don't sell when prices rise. Yes, you do when it's something of value. Oh, you don't sell when prices rise, Tina. You sell it when it drops because you're losing value. Yeah, because that's what you do, though, isn't it? You buy something of value and say, I would like to sell to the person who is going to buy it from me at a bloody discount. You would never do that. You wouldn't have something of value and then go to an auction and say, excuse me, can you please find me someone that is prepared to buy this as cheaply as possible because I want to make money, because the belief is that when prices go down, that's when you sell. What the hell are you all talking about DCA for? If you're selling when it drops. Now, what I make reference to when I say important people selling, well, those guys have already sold, ladies and gentlemen. They were selling here, all the way up there. When something increases in value, that's what you do. You sell it so you can make a profit. You buy it from somewhere like here and you sell it somewhere up here. You don't go, I'm going to buy it from here and then say, I'm going to sell it down here because it's dropping. Please, ladies and gentlemen, you might stand a chance in this game if you understand the fundamental basics of the market. Firstly, in front of you, someone just recently bought $22 million of Ethereum at $4,138. Okay, cool. Let's just go over to BTC. Someone just brought $8.81 million worth of Bitcoin at $112,888. No, but we're focusing on shit like this. Oh, who's selling? Well, actually, let's just go over to this chart right here and understand what the Coinbase Premium Index is doing, reference to the US retail traders. Let's have a look what's going on. Well, that's coming down significantly. And of course, when it gets updated, it might actually make a little bit more of a move lower when they update it. Well, let's have a look. On the miners selling, hold on a second. Let's just refresh this right here. Nope, they're not selling. You can see it's all the way down here. Nice little reading at the green. So that's an extreme of where they could potentially be buying. And we have a wonderful chart in front of us, which shows that there's $1.12 billion that were due to get liquidated at 113,412. Let's refresh this bad boy. Oh, there it is. Ah, they've eaten that $1.2 billion, $1.12 billion worth of long liquidations. We kind of ripped this move apart today. Platinum members, those of you that are members, you would have made a nice bit of stack today. And those of you who aren't, well, hopefully you did make money on the drop to the downside. But here was the heads up today. We said to everyone that we were expecting Bitcoin to initiate a stop run to the upside, come and claim roughly around the 115,660 to then try and make the reversal back down to the 112,701. Go over to good old BTC to understand exactly where we are with that. So here we go. We saw Bitcoin make the move up towards that zone, but it didn't quite make it. Well, it did make it, to be fair with you. It came up ever so slightly, came to 115,891. So if you took the trade, you would have seen a very small drawdown of around $200. And if that was going to break bank or liquidate you, you're using too much leverage. So from that point, we then would have expected Bitcoin to come down towards the vector candle recoveries at around the 114,000 to come and claim the 112,701, and we came down to 112,755 with the prospect of it going towards that TP. So we saw that move nicely. I exploited that move as well, ladies and gentlemen. I can't lie. I took the short from these ranges right here. I was playing a couple of longs inside of this move here, and we managed to copy the trade over to Ethereum, and we ripped it from 4,253 to 4,174. We cleared $6,721 on that move, and then we also cleared a nice little move on Bitcoin for a $3,606 gain. So that was happy days right there. And I did that on BTCC. Happy days. And then, of course, we go over and have a look at the other charts. This was Ethereum's target. 4,055 is what I wanted. And we come down to that and we can see that it's making its way towards that point. But we caught the entry nicely. Our entry, well, the drawdown would have been minimal if we go over to the actual positioning, and we wanted to see entry at 4,303 and 5. And you can see that they came up to 4,342. Stop run, and then they made the reversal to the downside. Happy days for those guys. If you're not a platinum member, get yourself involved, because these are the sort of setups that we actually navigate in the market using the hybrid system. Quickly jumping over to the stock market, NASDAQ took a smackaroo to the downside, but volume is low. I mean, you can see right there, NASDAQ has given back 1, 2, 3, 4, nearly 5, 6 days worth of price rising, but the volume is relatively low to the downside. And that was, of course, being led by NVIDIA. NVIDIA took a smack today. Quickly going over to NVIDIA's price action, you can see here that it is down 3.5%, trading at $175.65 towards the close. We had this move also covered on NASDAQ as well. We were looking for the short to the downside to claim that 23,653 with an entry of 23,806. We go over to the NASDAQ and have a look at that bad boy. And you can see that what they did was they actually just bled out. We didn't really see them go up towards the exact entry point. What they did do is they claimed the 23,805, and we wanted to see them take the entry of 23,806.75. So we missed it by $1 or so. And happy days from that point. They just ripped it to the downside and claimed back the green vector candle recovery and another green vector candle recovery to manage the 23,471, smashing the target of 23,653. Now you got to be preparing yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, because tomorrow is the FOMC minutes, and we're going to get insight into whether the interest rates are going to get cut. Quickly going over into that. Current reading shows 83.1%. We're going to refresh this chart just to understand if we are getting the same reading and investor sentiment is going to change regarding the rate cut. So as it stands right now, you can see that we have got a reading of 84.8%. That looks very good. So it's actually going up. Now we go over to the bonds market to understand where we are with that, and you can see 10-year bond market is trading positive for the day, and that's not really doing too bad given it's up 0.22%. The yields themselves are actually trading lower. So where are investors going? Well, they're going over to the dollar, aren't they? And the dollar has actually made a nice little move to the upside. I wanted to see euro today make a little bit of a turn to the upside, but unfortunately we were dud on that trade. But you've got to understand, forex usually trades a little bit tricky around these times, especially when we're getting close towards FOMC. Now that was actually setup was actually here on the euro. I wanted to see euro make claim to the upside on the idea that investors were actually seeking safe havens, which means that the yen would be going up, the euro would be going up, and gold would be going up. But today they just took a nosedive, and of course we got invalidated on our euro trade. But euro has been very difficult to trade lately. It's just playing this zigzag formation. But the question on all of your minds is this: is Bitcoin going to continue to drop? What is the story? Jokes aside, ladies and gents, yes, the prices of Bitcoin are getting cheaper, and they're not selling, they are buying, and that is evident from this chart right here. You can see that if the greens are appearing, it's showing you that they are bidding for the Bitcoin. And now, let me just nip this in the bud. BlackRock do not own the Bitcoin, it's investors. They are the ones that are going to want to pick it up, and they use BlackRock as the iShares Bitcoin Trust platform to actively engage in Bitcoin. Okay, so just take that into consideration. Whenever you see BlackRock selling, it's not BlackRock. It's just the title of the iShares platform. That's all it is. It's institutional investors taking some profits, and that profit is then being absorbed by the people who are buying the Bitcoin off those who are selling it. So the Bitcoin that gets released into the market is equally then picked up by these dudes. You can see it right there, 8.81 million. Then we go 2.87 million, and it's just going and going. You got more, 5.69 million. You've got this here, 4.16 going up. You got 2.18, and even further, we look closer, you can see we've got some bids coming in: 1 million, 7 million, 8 million, another 28 million at 111,900. Then you've got 1 million there, 4 million. So what does this show me? It shows me where the commitment is, and the commitment is showing that as prices go lower, we're going to naturally see participants come in and pick up the Bitcoin as it drops. Looking at the way Bitcoin has been behaving, yes, it looks like it could be losing a key structure structure zone right here, going into the daily time frame, you can see clear as day that Bitcoin has done very well as of late, but it's now broken the 50 EMA, and the 5 and 13 EMA are starting to show movement to the downside. But you've got, of course, tomorrow, the FOMC minutes. Are we going to get the rate cuts that they're all talking about and pricing in right now? That is followed then by the Jackson Hole Symposium and some more US data that's coming out. Word on the street is that there's going to be a big revision to the unemployment data. So that's going to be very interesting. But more importantly, Powell speaking on Friday. So whatever he's going to be discussing in regards to the Jackson Hole Symposium, where he sits down and explains where everything is economically, is he going to give us an eye into whether or not the rates are going to get cut? Well, we know they're going to get cut because investors are expecting it to. But what is the projection for the future? What's it going to look like in October? Are we going to get rate cuts then? You can see that traders are actively betting between the 3.75-4% and then the 4 to 4.25, with a few bets right here at 4.25, 4.5%. We're waiting for the market to give us the big rate cuts. But what you've got to be taking into consideration is the fact that the NASDAQ has pulled back on light volume. That's good news. This is where the market can pull back and then initiate continuations to the upside. If they're not selling on high volume, that means they're not dumping the shares, then that is good news. So maybe the pullback on Bitcoin needs to happen. So when you do get a pullback, it then will look to then try and make a reversal back up. Remember, they are actively buying it, man. So if you're seeing people complaining that they're selling the Bitcoin because that's it, cryptocurrency is done, if you can't absorb a 10 to 15 or 20% correction in cryptocurrency, then this game is not for you. Bitcoin is leaving a clue as to where it's going to end up in the future. And then what we've got to look for effectively is the structure of price to give us the idea that Bitcoin is getting primed to make the recovery. Go and look at every reversal point in Bitcoin. Now, I am talking in hindsight, but look. Stopping volume candle, green vector candle. This is consistent with reversals. It's the red candle, green candle formation, but the stopping volume candle is a candlestick that shows you where the market had come down, collected the bids and reversed. Look, just to back it up, you go over here on Bitcoin's price action and you go over and you look at where they made those little reversals from. So if I zoom out on this chart and go over here, you can find every point that they reversed from. So here's an example. Look at this. They were bidding Bitcoin's price down, and then they made the reversal back up. Find another reversal point in Bitcoin. Let's just keep on going. Here we go. Here's a nice little spot. They were bidding the Bitcoin, and then they reversed it back up. So that's what we're looking for. You see all of this here? These are all bids. People buying it up. Look at that. It's 11 million. And you've got 12 million coming up there as well. You've got 15 million. And then what does that lead to? Well, those guys that were buying are now actively selling. And we're seeing good news across the board. So everyone's like, quickly buy because prices are rising. No. Yes, sell it when it rises, ladies and gentlemen. That is evident with this behavior right here. Look at all this selling. There you go. 27.22 million sold at 120,000. And then you go all the way up here. 7.57 million sold at 121,900. When you understand that they buy it when it drops and they sell it when it rises. It's the fundamental rule of economics. You buy something of value at one price with the anticipation to sell it at a higher price in the future. You don't buy it, as I said, you don't buy it when it drops, or should I say, you don't buy it when it rises and then sell it when it drops because it's dropping in value and you need to wet the bed and quickly cover yourself because prices are going lower. This is the big mix-up in the way the game works. And what I'm making reference to over here, ladies and gentlemen, is just basic bid and offer behavior. A bid is what someone is prepared to buy at. An offer is what someone is prepared to sell at. Okay? Bid is always going to be lower. Offer is going to be higher. What happens is someone places an order in here and says, I want to buy Bitcoin at this price. The guy over here is saying, well, I'm selling it for this price. So then what happens? The market algorithms will navigate towards the most interested party or wherever the liquidity resides most at. And what we can see right now is there is a lot of liquidity coming in on bid side. You can't see really many offers coming into play because it's like no one's really interested in selling the Bitcoin at higher prices yet because we're in a bid side off move. That means prices are going lower and they're actively picking it up and buying it. Look, someone went and purchased $13.57 million worth of Bitcoin at 112,800 when the initial order was for 2 million. So what does that tell you? Eyes are on the charts, ladies and gentlemen. They want to buy it as it drops. And the more we see participants coming in and buying, as you can see here, they're dropping it, but they're buying it up and they're taking it off the retail trader courtesy of the Coinbase Premium Index that shows tells you when it's green, you're buying it because that's what this chart says. No, you buy it when it's in the red because US retail traders are selling the Bitcoin and it's being picked up by these dudes over here who are buying it. So the market tomorrow is going to be in anticipation of the FOMC minutes, and of course, Waller is going to be speaking too. Now, the minutes tomorrow is going to reveal whether or not that the Federal Reserve is going to give us the rate cut that everybody's expecting. You can see here that 84.8% are expecting the idea that we are going to get a cut, which will bring interest rates down to 4 to 4.25%. Now, you've heard me talk about this before, that every time the Fed pivots, the market usually tends to correct. Is this the start of that correction? Well, the only way that it could be the start of it, ladies and gentlemen, is, of course, if the volume is starting to come in higher. That means institutional sellers are stepping in and getting rid of stock, but they are getting rid of stock into the hands of those who are prepared to buy it. Remember, these big fat cats are in a position to be buying from these high levels because they have the capital to do so. They will easily buy from here and they can mark it all the way down, because if the wave of movement to the upside is going to continue, then when you look at price take a drop from the all-time highs and then make a recovery back up, you can truly appreciate that that's where they were bidding it and they were selling it. It's exactly the same thing here. This is where Bitcoin was at its all-time high. What happened? They were buying it. Bitcoin's going to the bin, and then all of a sudden it surpasses the previous range that it took out, and that's where the bigger volume was transacted, and that's where they sold it. And then they started to reconsolidate again, buying it on the dip, and then they sold it as it moved up again. So that's exactly what's going on in the stock market, in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. So just make sure that when you're coming into the markets tomorrow, in my opinion, I wouldn't trade until we know exactly what's going on with the FOMC minutes. But more importantly, when we get the data on Thursday, that's going to pretty much tell us where we are with the economy and whether or not we're going to get the rate cuts in September, and more of them to come towards the end of the year. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, mad love and respect. Please trade safely, and I'll tune into you all tomorrow. Peace.